So I have two Samsung Galaxy Tab 4s here that are my parents that are natively running Android. But my mum likes using Windows for a lot of her applications and all that. But at the moment, all I've got for running a Windows machine is this computer right here that is running a Debian-based operating system. So, but I don't want them to be accessing my workstation. So what I'm going to be demonstrating is how I've assigned specific users to specific devices and also dedicated them a virtual machine. So without further ado, let's get into it. So this is a Proxmox virtualization environment, Proxmox 7 to be exact. But what I've done is I've actually thrown a desktop environment over the server environment. So the server still runs in the background, but the desktop runs in the foreground over the top of it. So I can actually now use this as a normal PC, which goes back into a comment that I'd received on my last video when I demonstrated booting up the system. They had said, I think it was from Bronzer, they had said that this was a waste of time and I should delete the video. I like to reply back to that and say, no, this has actually been a far from waste of time. As a matter of fact, this has been so successful of not just communicating with the virtual machines that are stored on this server, but I also have another virtualization server which I've made another tutorial in the past about hosting over the internet. Well, now I can access those virtual machines as if this device was a client, even though it's a client and a server at the same time. Plus, I can game on it as well. I play a couple of Windows games using Wine, emulation, and also native Windows games, and they work flawlessly. So I just like to reply back to the comment and say, no, actually, this was a far from a waste of time. And if someone's got anything constructive to say, that'll be handy. But if you are going to say things on my comments that are not constructive criticism, well, they're going to be deleted. But I just thought I would mention it because that was a comment I had deleted on my last video, just someone being negative. So without further ado, let's get into it. So as I said, we've got two Android tablets here. So what we're going to do is we're going to use these as thin clients to access two specific virtual machines on the network, and that have been coded into the usernames. So I've actually hard coded the username and password into each of these devices. So on this device, the server is called All-in-One, which that's what it is, All-in-One. It's a PC and a monitor all-in-one. And I've called it Rob's All-in-One PC server on this device, but nonetheless, it's the same device. So as I said, I've hard coded the username and password, and the reason why I did this, because if we click into the server, the clients that I've dedicated user for only has specific virtual machines dedicated to them. So if you see, I've got a virtual machine called Mum 8.1, which is Windows 8.1 standard. Same with this one. See, I've got another thin client here, all-in-one. If we click into there, we've got Dad 8.1. So this is a cloned version of this OS, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to boot them both up at the same time. So we'll click the virtual machine, it takes us into the info. We can click the console, and once we click the console, the virtual machine shut down. So if we go start, now we are booting a virtual machine that is running on this PC server that's in front of me. So even though nothing's come up on this side, everything's, as I said, the back end of this is actually a server. So this is how these virtual machines are running. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to wait until this virtual machine boots up, just so you can see. So there we go. We have a thin client running Windows 8.1 in a virtual machine that's on a server. The good thing about doing it is because these don't have the best hardware in them. So I just wanted to make it so it's easier, it's easier on the hardware on the thin clients, and the server does all the work. So here we go, we've got the desktop environment. Let me just get rid of that, what you see in front of you. So these the my mum's Windows 8.1. I've got Google Chrome because I've actually got a Chromecast hooked up to my home lab environment. So if they wanted to mirror this screen onto a bigger screen like a TV, they can through Google Chrome. So this is the first virtual machine, and as I said, we're going to be launching another virtual machine that's on the same server, but it's on a different client. And the other reason why I did this is so both can use a computer and don't interrupt what each other's doing. That's why they only have specific and restricted users, because all they need to do is use a computer. They don't need to modify the hardware. All they need to do is run a computer, which they can install software and all that on it. These as well, because both of these are logged in as administrations on the guest virtual machines. So they can, once they log in as admin, they can actually Oh, sorry, I thought it was playing up for a second there, but no, we are unloading. So this is a second Windows 8.1 virtual machine. As I said, the clone of the first, and now it is loading up. So now we have two virtual machines on two different thin clients, two different virtual machines on two different thin clients, and running off the one server. So the goal here for this project was there's a couple of things. Number one, to disguise a server. So that's done its job, because when people look at this this all-in-one, they think it's just a computer. They don't realize that it has a back end, which is a server, which you see these virtual machines running. See, we've got a logging into Windows 8.1. You can also browse the internet on these two, and also browse its thing. So both of these can be used at once. See, one's loading up, and I'm just going into File Explorer on the other one. Meanwhile, my mum's mucking around on her virtual machine. My dad can muck around on his virtual machine. They can they can install their own programs, and none of the virtual machines will affect each other unless they have some form of communication in between, which is possible. But for this basic of what they want to do, they won't go too technical. So yeah, the good thing about doing it this way is if mum or dad needs help with certain things on their virtual excuse me, on their virtual machines, I can access them as the admin user, because as I said, these are limited users and they only have specific roles. So the roles that these have is to view the console of the virtual machines, to audit them, so they can see how much is there that has been designated to them, and also the power management of the server consoles, or of the guest consoles. Some people don't give them the power access, but I do, because what I want to do is when this computer's off, all they need to do is switch on the PC, wait until it boots up, and then once it's booted up, they can power on their own virtual machines. This one doesn't have to be. You don't have to log into this, log actual into it to from the front end to actually use the virtual machines, or to actually get access to the virtual machines. Once this is loaded and it's running, and as long as it's connected to the network that it's required, once it boots up with the login screen, you can just leave it, walk away from it, and they can boot up their virtual machines. The only downfall about doing this way is I've got to be mindful if I reboot this machine, because if I restart this machine, it's going to shut down both of the virtual machines and other virtual machines that are running too in containers. So yeah, this is the way I got around people wanting to use my computer or wanting to use a computer. So all I can do now is designate a virtual machine, designate it with a username and password, and then all they have to do is log into that username and password on their devices, which, as I said, these are hard coded in, so they don't have to worry about logging in. But if, say, my mum wanted to have her virtual machine on a phone as well as a tablet, she can do that. I just have to hard code it into her phone's client. And the same thing with my dad. If you want to use his phone, it is a thin client just like these. So yeah, this is the power virtualization, and I just thought I would demonstrate how I done it pretty much, and they can actually take these computers with them. So as I said, like this is a wireless solution, so they don't have to be sitting in front of my computer. They can actually take this out in the shed or outside, as long as they are connected, stay connected to the Wi-Fi. They'll be fine. So this is the way I got around giving people virtual machines, but also not giving them access to the whole mainframe, because at the end of the day, this is still my workstation, and I still use it for work things. So now I can do what I got to do, and my parents can do what they got to do on their thin clients, and they don't have to worry about crosstalk with each other. Because my mum does a lot of office programs. This is also good for when she gets her computer back in 2 months' time, because it's 2 months after they get back that they'll get the computer and stuff. So what I could do is I can actually hard code this into her web browser on the computer, so she can access the same thing. Because she likes Windows 8.1 better than 10, even though the technician had installed 10. So what I might do is I might actually give her the virtual machine which has 8.1 in it. She can set it up how she wants, customize it, and I'll probably put this same version of Windows 8.1 on her actual PC too. So yeah, I just thought I'd demonstrate thin clients and how they work, and how they communicate with this all-in-one PC. And just to say that my last tutorial wasn't a waste of time. But there's plenty of tutorials about Proxmox and users, so I just thought I'd demonstrate how I used it and how it works. So without further ado, you have a good day, and next time, ciao ciao.